The rain hammered down like God's own judgment, turning the cracked sidewalks of Brooklyn into rivers of regret. I stood there, frozen under the awning of that dingy coffee shop on Atlantic Avenue, my heart pounding louder than the thunder rolling in from the harbor. And then he appeared from the shadows, Howard, my Howard, once the unbreakable force in my life, now a ghost of himself, staggering through the downpour with eyes hollowed by whatever hell he'd crawled out of. He was broken and in pain, yet dropped to his knees and begged forgiveness the instant he saw me, his voice a ragged whisper lost in the storm. "Eugene, please. I can't breathe without you. I fucked it all up, but God, forgive me." I wanted to run, to kick him while he was down, to scream until the whole damn city heard how he'd shattered me. But those words hit like a freight train, pulling me back into the vortex we'd called love, the one that started in the sticky heat of a Manhattan summer and ended in the cold betrayal of a winter night 6 months ago. It all began 2 years earlier, on a sweltering July afternoon in 2023, when New York felt more like a pressure cooker than a city of dreams. I was Eugene Hayes, 28, a graphic designer scraping by in a shoebox apartment in Williamsburg, the kind of place where the walls were thinner than my patience and the rent was a monthly gut punch. I'd moved here from Ohio 5 years back, chasing that elusive American promise of reinvention, only to find myself grinding through freelance gigs for indie bands and boutique brands that paid in exposure and ramen noodles. Howard Ellis crashed into my world like a rogue wave at Coney Island. He was 32, a rising star architect at a firm in Midtown, with that effortless Midwestern charm wrapped in a tailored suit, tall, broad-shouldered, with salt and pepper hair that he wore just messy enough to look intentional, and green eyes that could disarm you faster than a loaded Glock. We met at a queer art crawl in Bushwick, one of those events where the air smelled like weed, cheap wine, and unbridled ambition. I was nursing a lukewarm IPA, sketching logos on a napkin to kill time, when he sidled up, peering over my shoulder with a grin that lit up the dim warehouse space. "That's killer," he said, his voice low and warm, like aged bourbon. "You got a name for that chaos?" I glanced up, caught off guard by the way his tie hung loose, like he'd already surrendered to the night. "Eugene. And it's supposed to be a phoenix, but it looks more like a drunk turkey." He laughed, a deep, genuine rumble that cut through the indie folk droning from the speakers. "Howard. And I see the phoenix. Bold lines, rising from the ashes. Kinda like this city, huh? Or us in it." We talked for hours, weaving through graffiti-splashed installations and clusters of artists debating the merits of AI versus the human soul. He bought me another drink, then another, and by midnight, we were stumbling out onto the street, the summer air thick with possibility. He hailed a cab with that confident wave, like the world bent to his will, and when he leaned in to kiss me, soft at first, then hungry, his hand firm on the nape of my neck, it felt like the universe had finally aligned. That kiss sealed it. We tumbled into my apartment, shedding clothes like old skins, our bodies colliding in a frenzy of need and discovery. His touch was electric, mapping me with the precision of someone who built skyscrapers for a living. Strong hands tracing my ribs, lips brushing my collarbone as he whispered, "You're beautiful, Eugene. Like nothing I've ever seen." I arched into him, losing myself in the salt of his skin, the way he moved with a quiet intensity that made me feel seen, wanted, alive. By morning, sunlight slanted through the blinds, painting stripes across his bare chest as he stirred awake. He propped himself on an elbow, watching me with those eyes, and said, "Last night wasn't a one-off. Tell me you'll let me take you to breakfast. Real food, not that bodega crap." I laughed, pulling the sheet up like a shield. "You sure? I'm high maintenance. Expect mimosas and avocado toast." "Deal," he murmured, sealing it with a kiss that tasted like promises. From there, it snowballed into something real, fast and fierce. Howard was the Een to my Yang, where I was scattered sketches and late-night doubts. He was blueprints and deadlines, the guy who could charm a room full of venture capitalists into funding his sustainable high-rise dreams. We built a rhythm. Lazy Sundays at his sleek loft in Chelsea, where he'd cook eggs Benedict while I lounged on the couch, feet in his lap, sketching while he ranted about zoning laws and corrupt developers. He'd trace lazy circles on my ankle, his voice dropping to that intimate timbre. "You know, Eugene, you're the only one who gets it." The mess under the polish. And God, I got him. Howard carried scars from a conservative upbringing in rural Pennsylvania, where his dad was a steelworker who died too young from black lung, and his mom still sent passive-aggressive emails about finding a nice girl to settle down with. He'd come out at 18, got disowned for a semester, clawed his way to Columbia on scholarships and grit. Architecture was his armor, but with me, he let it crack. Shared stories of hookups that left him hollow, the fear that he'd never build something lasting. Our love was a quiet revolution. Picnics in Central Park, where he'd pack artisanal cheeses and we'd feed each other grapes, laughing when juice dribbled down chins. Late-night drives upstate in his vintage Mustang, windows down, Bruce Springsteen blasting as we sang off-key to Thunder Road. Sex that evolved from raw passion to tender exploration. Mornings when he'd wake me with slow kisses down my spine. Afternoons tangled in sheets. Bodies sinking like we'd been choreographed by fate. But beneath the romance, fissures formed. Howard's firm landed a massive contract, an eco-tower in Hudson Yards, and suddenly, he was the golden boy, schmoozing at galas in black tie, his phone buzzing non-stop. I tag along sometimes, feeling like an accessory in my thrift store blazer amid the Rolexes and Botox smiles. "You're my anchor, babe," he'd say, squeezing my hand under the table. But I saw the strain in his jaw, the way his eyes darted to the next power player. I threw myself into work too, landing a gig designing album art for a queer indie rapper, which meant all-nighters fueled by Red Bull and resentment. We'd argue over small things, him forgetting our anniversary because of a site visit, me snapping when he canceled movie night for just one more meeting. But we'd always circle back. Apologies laced with makeup sex that left us breathless and bonded anew. Then came the fall. It was October, leaves turning the parks to fire, when I found the texts. I'd borrowed his phone to call an Uber after a bar hop in the village, our ritual of dive bar karaoke and stolen dances. The screen lit up with a notification from work buddy, Alex. "Missed you last night. That hotel bar was empty without your laugh. Round too soon? XO." My stomach dropped like an elevator in freefall. Alex, the firm's hotshot intern, all chiseled jaw and trust fund swagger, who'd flirted shamelessly at that holiday party. I scrolled, heart hammering, dozens of messages, emojis that twisted like knives. "Can't stop thinking about your hands on me. Eugene's sweet, but you're fire." Betrayal bloomed hot and vicious. I confronted him that night in his loft, phone clutched like evidence in a trial. "What the fuck, Howard? While I'm here building a life with you, you're screwing around." He deflated, color draining from his face. Eugene. It's not God. It's nothing. A stupid mistake. Alex means jack shit. Nothing. I hurled the word like a grenade. You've been lying for months. I trusted you. You son of a bitch. We tore into each other. Him swearing it was stress from the project. The pressure to perform. Me railing about how I wasn't enough. Never had been. He begged, tears streaking his cheeks. I love you. Only you. Please, don't walk away. But the damage was done. I packed a bag, stormed out into the crisp night, the city lights blurring through my own tears. 6 months of radio silence followed, a chasm widening with every unanswered call, every ghosted email. Now, here he was, on his knees in the rain, a shell of the man I'd loved. His suit hung off him, soaked and rumpled, dark circles carving canyons under his eyes. Whatever demons he'd wrestled in my absence had won battles I couldn't imagine. Eugene, he choked out, rain mingling with the blood from a split lip. Had he been in a fight? I lost everything. The firm, my head. But losing you? That's the real death. I towered over him, fists clenched, the storm mirroring the turmoil in my chest. Part of me wanted to pull him up, to crush him against me and pretend the betrayal was a nightmare. But the hurt ran too deep, a scar tissue tangle. Why now? I demanded, voice cracking. What makes you think you can just kneel and I'll forget? He looked up, those green eyes shattered glass. Because I can't live with what I did. And because you're the only redemption I'll ever chase. The rain eased to a drizzle as I hauled Howard to his feet, his weight sagging against me like a man unmoored. We stumbled into the coffee shop, the bell above the door jingling like a bad omen. The place was a relic, faded formica counters, a jukebox crooning Sinatra, the air thick with the scent of burnt espresso and grease. The night shift barista, a grizzled vet with tattoos snaking up his arms, shot us a nod that said he'd seen worse spectacles than 2 drowned rats claiming a corner booth. Sit, I muttered, shoving Howard onto the cracked vinyl. He obeyed, shivering, his teeth chattering as I flagged down 2 black coffees, strong enough to strip paint, the way he liked it back when mornings started with lazy grins and shared mugs. He wrapped his hands around the cup like a lifeline, steam curling up to ghost his face. Up close, the damage was stark, bruises blooming purple along his jaw, a fresh cut above his eyebrow scabbed over hastily. His once manicured beard was scruffy, unkempt, and his wedding ring finger bare now, since I'd made him take it off in our saner days, twitched nervously. Thanks, he rasped, voice raw from whatever bender or breakdown had led him here. For not leaving me in the gutter. Don't thank me yet. I slid into the booth opposite, arms crossed like a barrier. The hurt festered, a live wire sparking under my skin. You look like hell, Howard. What happened? And don't bullshit me with, it's nothing. He stared into his coffee, the surface rippling like his resolve. Minutes ticked by, marked by the drip of water from his hair onto the table. Finally, he exhaled, a sound like surrender. After you left. I spiraled. The affair with Alex, it wasn't just stress. It was me being a coward. The firm was pushing me for partner, but the bored, old-school pricks, they kept dropping hints. Settle down, Ellis. Family man sells better. Panicked. Thought maybe if I played straight for a bit. My laugh was bitter, slicing the air. Played straight? By fucking the intern? Jesus. Howard, that's not panic. That's sabotage. I know. His eyes met mine, pleading. I ended it that night. Cold turkey. Told Alex it was over. Blocked him everywhere. But the guilt. Ate me alive. I started drinking whiskey after hours. Shots to drown the what-ifs. The project tanked. I botched the final pitch. Cost the firm millions. They fired me in January. Blackballed me so hard I couldn't get a freelance gig in this town. I leaned back. Processing. Howard Ellis. The wunderkind who'd sketched sustainable utopias on napkins. Reduced to this, it should have given me a grim satisfaction. But instead, it twisted something deep in my gut. A reminder that love didn't erase flaws. It amplified them. And the bruises? I nodded at his face. The evidence of fresh violence. He touched his lip gingerly, wincing. Bar fight in Queens last week. Some redneck overheard me at the counter, mouthing off about fairy architects ruining the skyline. I swung first. Stupid. Yeah. But it felt honest. Like finally owning the mess I'd made. The barista slid over a plate of day-old danishes. On the house. He grumbled, and I pushed one toward Howard, watching him tear into it like a starving man. We sat in that fragile quiet, the jukebox shifting to Patsy Cline's Crazy, her voice a velvet ache that mirrored my own. Memories flooded unbidden. Our first Christmas, stringing lights on his loft's exposed beams. Him burning the turkey but nailing the mulled wine. Road tripping to the Finger Lakes. Skinny dipping in moonlit waters. His laughter echoing off the hills as we chased fireflies naked. Why come back now? I asked softly, the question hanging heavy. 6 months. Howard. I rebuilt new clients. Therapy. Even dated a bit. A barista from Queens. Sweet guy. It wasn't you, but it was. Forward. His fork stilled. Pain flashing raw. Because I saw you last month. At that gallery opening in Soho, your designs on the walls, lighting up the room. You looked radiant. Whole. And it hit me. I'd thrown away the best thing in my life for a lie I didn't even believe. He reached across the table, hesitating before covering my hand with his calloused now. From manual labor gigs, I guessed. I don't deserve a second chance, Eugene. But if you'll let me, I'll spend every goddamn day earning it. I pulled away, not ready for the spark that jumped at his touch. Earning it how? Words are cheap. You broke my trust. Shattered it into pieces I didn't know how to glue back. Tell me what you need, he said, desperation edging his tone. Therapy together? Transparency. My phone's yours, 24/7. Hell, I'll quit the bottle, get a sponsor. Just don't write me off. The rain picked up again, drumming the window like impatient fingers. Outside, cabs splashed through puddles, yellow beacons in the gloom, carrying lives untouched by our wreckage. I thought of my therapist's words, Dr. Ramirez, with her no-nonsense Brooklyn accent. Forgiveness isn't absolution, Eugene. It's a choice for your peace. But peace felt miles away, tangled in the what-ifs of us. We left the shop at dawn, the sky bruising purple over the East River. Howard walked me to my subway stop, our steps sinking unconsciously, like muscle memory. At the platform edge, he stopped, shoving hands in his pockets. Can I call you? Tomorrow, just to check in. I nodded, the gesture small but seismic. Yeah. But slow. Howard. We're ghosts to each other right now. His smile was tentative, a crack of light in the dark. Slow it is. The train rattled in, swallowing me whole. But as Brooklyn faded behind, I felt the pull, a tether not fully severed. Back in my apartment, I collapsed on the bed, the scent of rain and regret clinging to my clothes. Sleep came fitful, dreams laced with his pleas, his touch, the ghost of betrayal. Days blurred into a tentative dance. Howard texted good mornings. Simple, no pressure, coffee's brewing. Thinking of you. I replied in kind, building walls brick by emoji. We met for coffee midweek. Neutral ground at a park bench in Prospect, where dog walkers and joggers formed a buffer. He showed up clean-shaven, in a flannel that hugged his frame just right, carrying sketch pads instead of blueprints. Working odd jobs, he admitted, flipping open a page to reveal charcoal drawings, urban landscapes infused with queer icons, stonewall etched into skyline silhouettes. Security at a warehouse, bartending weekends. Keeps the demons at bay. I traced a finger over the paper, the lines bold and alive. This is good. Real. Not the corporate gloss. His gaze warmed. Inspired by you. That raw edge you bring to everything. Conversations deepened, peeling layers. He opened up about his sponsor, a burly ex-Marine named Rico who dragged him to AA meetings in church basements reeking of stale coffee and second chances. First meeting, I spilled my guts, the cheating, the firing, losing you. Rico just nodded, said, "Rock bottom's a solid foundation, kid. Build from there." I shared too the barista, Marcus, whose easy affection had been a bomb but lacked Howard's fire. The therapy breakthroughs where I unpacked my own abandonment issues, courtesy of a dad who bailed when I was 10. I thought I was over it, I confessed, watching pigeons peck at crumbs. But you ripped the scab off. He winced, but owned it. I hate that I did that to you. Every day, by week's end, we risked dinner, a hole-in-the-wall Italian joint in Carroll Gardens, candlelit tables and Chianti that loosened tongues. Laughter crept in, hesitant at first, then full-throated over shared stories of disastrous family Thanksgivings. His hand brushed mine, reaching for breadsticks, lingering a beat too long, and I didn't pull away. That night, walking home under star-pricked skies, he stopped at my door, the stoop's lamp casting golden halos. "Eugene, can I kiss you? Just once." To remember, heart thundering, I nodded. His lips met mine, gentle, reverent, tasting of wine and want. It wasn't the frantic passion of before. It was a bridge, fragile but spanning the abyss. When we broke, foreheads pressed, he whispered, "Thank you for this." Inside, alone, I touched my lips, the ghost of him lingering. Hope flickered, dangerous and bright. But shadows loomed. A week later, my phone buzzed during a client call. Unknown number. Voicemail. "Hey, Eugene, this is Alex. Howard's friend. Look, he's not telling you everything. Call me if you want the truth." The words slithered cold, reigniting doubts. Was this the real betrayal's echo, or a jealous ex stirring the pot? I deleted it, but the seed burrowed. Autumn deepened, leaves carpeting the streets in crimson and gold, but the chill in my bones had nothing to do with the weather. That voicemail from Alex gnawed at me like a persistent itch, festering through our fragile rebuild. Howard and I were tiptoeing toward something resembling normalcy, movie nights at my place with takeout Thai, his head in my lap as we dissected indie flicks, weekend hikes in the Palisades, where he'd point out architectural marvels in the cliffs, his voice alive with that old passion. But intimacy stalled at kisses, my body a locked vault, trust the missing key. I didn't tell him about the call. Not yet. Instead, I dove into work, a commission for a queer nonprofit's rebrand keeping me buried in deadlines. Sketches piled up, rainbow-infused icons symbolizing resilience, drawn from the marrow of our story. Howard noticed the distance. Of course. His text shifted from playful to probing. Everything okay? Feels like you're a million miles away. Just swamped. I'd reply, the lie tasting sour. The bomb dropped on a crisp Saturday in November, the city buzzing with pre-Thanksgiving frenzy. We'd planned a low-key day at the High Line, wandering elevated paths lined with rusting rails and wild grasses, the Hudson glittering below like fool's gold. Howard arrived with hot cider in thermoses, his smile boyish under a knit beanie. Thought we could toast to progress, he said, clinking mine, steam fogging the air. We strolled, shoulders brushing, the elevated walkway a ribbon above the chaos. He laced his fingers through mine, bold, acclaim, and for a moment, the world narrowed to us. His thumb stroking my knuckle, the crunch of gravel underfoot, distant fairy horns moaning like lovesick whales. I've been thinking, he started, voice tentative, about us. Long term. If you'll have me, I want to make it official rings, vows, the whole rom-com bit. Not hiding anymore. My step faltered, cider sloshing warm against my palm. Marriage? The word conjured white tuxes in firelit lofts, but also the specter of his betrayal, the ease with which he'd strayed. Howard. That's huge. But are you sure? Last time commitment came up, you ran to Alex. He stopped, turning to face me, the city skyline framing him like a flawed masterpiece. Wind whipped his scarf, eyes earnest. I was scared then of the board, my mom, the world. But losing you, that's the real terror. I'm all in, Eugene. No more half measures. Before I could respond, my phone vibrated, insistent, a serpent in my pocket. I ignored it, but it buzzed again, screen lighting with Alex urgent. Howard caught the name, his face paling. Who? I silenced it, but the damage rippled. An ex. Marcus. Nothing. Liar. His voice cracked, hurt mirroring mine from months ago. That's the intern, isn't it? What the hell? Eugene. We retreated to a bench overlooking the rail yards, the industrial sprawl a metaphor for our tangled mess. Caved, spilling the voicemail's poison. Howard's reaction was volcanic, face twisting in rage. He snatched my phone, dialing with trembling fingers. This ends now, he growled, speaker on as it rang. Alex picked up on the third, voice smooth as oiled silk. Eugene? Finally. Look, this is Howard, he cut in, steel-edged. Whatever game you're playing, stop. You're done poisoning this. A pause, then laughter, cold, cutting. Poison? Baby, I'm the antidote. You think he knows about the weekend in the Hamptons? The one where you cried in my arms, saying Eugene was too needy, too small town? Or how you proposed to me first, drunk on Dom Perignon, promising to leave him for good. The words landed like shrapnel. Howard's eyes widened, denial dying on his lips. Alex, that was. Truth hurts, doesn't it? Alex sneered. You played us both, Howard. But Eugene deserves better than your scraps. The call ended with a click, leaving silence thicker than fog. I stood, world tilting. Is it true? My voice was whisper-thin, the high lines hum fading to white noise. Howard crumpled, sinking onto the bench, head in hands. The Hamptons. Yeah. 3 months in, after a killer deadline. We were celebrating firm retreat. Too much champagne. And Alex. He listened when I vented about us fighting over my hours. I said stupid shit. Eugene. Called you needy because I was the one needing space to breathe. But the proposal? That was blackout drunk. A joke gone wrong. I woke up mortified. Ended it for real that morning. Joke? The betrayal metastasized. Fresh wounds over old. You proposed to your side piece while wearing my ring? While I was home waiting like a fool. Tears tracked his cheeks. Unashamed. I hate myself for it. Every layer. It wasn't love, it was escape. But with you, it's home. I backed away. The path's edge a vertigo tease. Home? You burned it down. Howard. Twice now. Tourists milled past. Oblivious. Their laughter a cruel underscore. I turned, fleeing down the stairs. The city swallowing me in its indifferent maw. That night, alone in my apartment, I shattered. A howl from the gut, fists pounding pillows until knuckles bled. Friends rallied. My roommate Jax, a drag queen with a heart of gold, showed up with Ben and Jerry's and bad rom-coms. Marcus texted support. No strings. But the ache was a black hole, sucking light. Howard's apologies flooded. Voicemails raw with sobs. Flowers at my door with notes pleading let me fix this. Please. I ghosted him, burrowing into work. Therapy double sessions where Dr. Ramirez urged. Boundaries aren't walls. Eugene, they're doors you control. Weeks ground by December's chill seeping into bones. Holiday lights twinkled mockingly. Storefronts hawking joy I couldn't touch. Then, Christmas Eve. A knock, persistent, like fate's hammer. I opened to Howard, snow-dusted, carrying a battered guitar case. One song, he begged from the threshold, breath fogging. If you hate it, I'll go. Forever, against better judgment, I let him in. He tuned the old acoustic, his grandpa's, scarred from decades, settling cross-legged on my rug. The first chords trembled, a haunting melody he'd composed. Verses of regret woven with our memories, Brooklyn rains, Central Park whispers, the Mustang's roar. His voice, gravelly and true, cracked on the chorus. I built castles in the sky, but tore down our walls begging on broken knees, for one more chance to fall. Tears blurred my vision as he sang, the lyrics a scalpel to the scar. When the last note faded, silence hummed. I wrote it for you, he said softly. Every mistake, every hope, I knelt before him, mirroring that rainy night. It's beautiful. But beauty doesn't erase pain. He nodded, eyes glistening. Then let's build through it. Together. Therapy, time, whatever it takes. In that suspended moment, with snow tapping the window like Morse code for try, I leaned in. Our kiss was salt and storm, a reclamation tentative as dawn. We didn't make love that night, just held on. Bodies entwined in the quiet. Ghosts exorcised one breath at a time. But dawn brought reality's bite. New Year's loomed, resolutions mocking our fragility. And Alex, his shadow lingered, a wild card in the deck. January roared in like a lion, all bluster and bite, the city shedding holiday glitter for gray slush and subway delays. Howard and I plunged into reconstruction couples therapy Wednesdays at Dr. Ramirez's office, a sunlit space overlooking Flatbush with plants that whispered resilience. Sessions were brutal excavations. Howard owning his cowardice, the toxic masculinity he'd internalized from boardroom bros. Me unpacking resentment, how his betrayal echoed Dad's vanishing act. Progress isn't linear, Dr. Ramirez would say, her pen tapping like a metronome. It's a spiral up, but circling the hurt. We leaned in hard. Howard landed a gig restoring brownstones in Harlem, hands dirty with plaster and possibility. Coming home to my place most nights, our places merging tentatively, his toothbrush beside mine, his flannel draped over my chair. Evenings blurred into domestic poetry. Him chopping onions for chili while I stirred, hips bumping in the tiny kitchen. Lazy Sundays with the Times crossword, his foot hooked round my ankle, clues traded like secrets. Intimacy rebuilt brick by brick. First kisses evolved to caresses, his fingers ghosting my spine under starched sheets, drawing shivers I'd forgotten I could feel. One February night, after a particularly grueling session where I'd screamed about trust's fragility, we tumbled into bed, clothes shedding like winter coats. It was slow, sacred, his mouth mapping apologies on my skin, eyes locked as he entered me, whispering I love you like a vow renewed. Afterward, tangled and spent, he traced my tattoos, a sleeve of geometric phoenixes I'd inked post-breakup, and murmured, "You're my North Star, Eugene." Always were. Love bloomed fierce, laced with caution. We traveled light, a weekend in the Catskills, cabin fever turning to fevered nights by the fireplace, snow blanketing the world outside. He sketched our future, a co-op in Fort Greene, maybe kids via surrogate down the line, his firm reimagined as a queer-led collective. No more hiding, he promised, toasting with local IPA. You and me against the skyline, but harmony's a jealous mistress. Alex resurfaced in March, a venomous postcard arriving at Howard's job site. Miss our fire? Hamptons too. This summer. Leave the baggage. Howard showed it to me immediately. Face ashen, no secrets this time. We burned it in the sink. Flames licking the lies, but the ash lingered. Worse came mid-spring. Howard's mom, Evelyn, descended from Pennsylvania for a surprise visit, code for reconnaissance. She'd thawed slightly since his coming-out email last year, sending birthday cards with vague, love always scrawls. But face-to-face, she arrived at his brownstone site, pearls clutched like rosaries, eyeing the rainbow flag pin on his tool belt. Howard Ellis. What in heaven's name? We met her at a diner off Broadway, neutral turf, formica tables scarred by decades of confessions. Evelyn was steel magnolia, silver hair in a severe bob, eyes sharp as her late husband's lathe. She air-kissed Howard, then fixed on me, handshake limp. Eugene. Howard's colleague, partner, I corrected, chin up. Howard squeezed my thigh under the table, a silent "we got this." Dinner was a minefield. She probed gently at first, work, The city then veered. Howard, darling, that firm scandal. And now this lifestyle, you'll never find stability. Her gaze flicked to me, pitying. No offense, dear, but men need roots. A family. Howard's fork clattered. Mom, Eugene is my family. And my lifestyle is my life. Gay. Proud. Deal with it or don't come around. She bristled, lips thinning. I drove 4 hours. For you. And this is the thanks? Parading sin like it's salvation. The word sin hung. A guillotine. I stood, chair scraping. Evelyn, love isn't sin. Betrayal is. Howard's fought for us harder than most. If you can't see that, maybe it's your roots that need examining. She left in a huff. Check and signed. But not before hissing to Howard in the parking lot. He's poison, turning you against blood. He relayed it later, voice hollow, collapsing into my arms on the stoop. She'll come around. Or she won't. But I choose you. Climax brewed in May. Heat waves turning Manhattan to a skillet. Howard's firm, his new one, a scrappy outfit championing inclusive design, pitched a queer community center in the village, a beacon of brick and beam. He poured soul into it, late nights drafting with me, critiquing logos over takeout. The presentation loomed, a make or break for his redemption arc. Fate, that cruel puppeteer, intervened. The night before, at a pre-pitch mixer in a Soho loft, Alex slithered in uninvited, but inevitable. I wasn't there, stuck in a deadline crunch. Howard texted updates, nailing it. Miss you. Then, radio silence. Panic clawed. I called no answer. Voicemails piled. By 2 a.m., a cab to the loft. Heart a war drum. The party had thinned, stragglers nursing hangovers, but Howard was gone. A tipsy colleague spilled, saw him leave with that hot intern dude. Alex looked intense, like old flames. The cab ride home blurred, nausea roiling. Betrayals sequel or paranoia? Dawn broke without him, my texts unread. Then, his key turned, disheveled, eyes bloodshot, shirt untucked. Eugene, don't. I whirled from the window, voice ice. Where were you? With him. He recoiled, then deflated. Alex cornered me. Accused me of stealing his ideas for the pitch bullshit. But he had proof. Doctored emails. Said he'd tank it unless I met him. To talk. And the word was a blade. We talked. At his place. He kissed me. Forceful. Drunk. I shoved him off. Told him to fuck off forever. Left shaking. Walked the streets to clear my head. I'm sorry, I should have called. Rage erupted. A geyser. You went to his place? Alone? After everything. Paced. Fists balled. This is the pattern. Howard, temptation pulls, and you bend. I'm done bending with you. He dropped to his knees, echoing that rainy night, tears streaming. No. Please. I swear. On everything I chose you. Walked away. But if you can't believe that, the room spun, love and loathing in a deadly tango. I hauled him up, shoving him against the wall, not violent, but desperate. Prove it. Right now. Call the cops on him, harassment, threats. End this for good. He did. Phone trembling as he dialed 911. Voice steady reciting the night's sins. Officers came, took statements. Alex's name etched in official ink. As they left, Howard turned to me, broken open. It's over. All of it. But us? If you'll fight. I pulled him close, sobs racking us both. We're fighting. Bloody-knuckled. Summer unfurled like a hard-won truce. The city exhaling into fire hydrant sprays and rooftop barbecues. The police report on Alex bore fruit. A restraining order. His firm's quiet severance. Whispers in design circles branding him toxic. Howard's pitch. The sword. The community center green-lit with fanfare. His name in Gothamist as the visionary architect reclaiming queer spaces. We celebrated at a block party in the village. Drag queens lip-syncing Madonna. Rainbow flags snapping in the breeze. His arm around my waist. Our first public toast. To us, unbreakable now. But scars don't fade to polish. They texture the shine. Therapy continued. A weekly ritual where we dissected triggers. My flinch at late texts. His overcompensation with grand gestures. We built safeguards. Weekly check-ins over diner pie. Jars of notes, fears, and gratitudes. Read aloud on rainy evenings. Love deepened. Roots delving past the hurt. Eugene Hayes' designs boomed too. My Phoenix motifs caught fire. Commissions from Glad to indie labels. Howard surprised me with a home studio in our new Fort Greene walk-up. A sun-drenched nook with skylights and built-in shelves for my sketchpads. Your canvas, he said, kissing my temple. Ours. Intimacy flowered fully, nights of exploration. His body a map I'd redrawn 1,000 times. Each touch a affirmation. Mornings tangled in cotton sheets. Coffee brewing as he hummed off-key. Feet entwined under the table. We talked legacy. Adopting one day, perhaps, or fostering, giving a kid the chosen family we'd forged. Autumn circled back. Leaves a triumphant blaze. Evelyn's thaw came haltingly. A letter first, penned in her elegant cursive, Howard. Eugene, I've prayed, reflected. Sin's not the heart's truth. Fear is. Come home for Thanksgiving? Love, Mom. We did. Driving the Mustang through Pennsylvania's rolling hills. Tension thick as fog. Dinner was awkward at first. Turkey dry. Small talk stilted. But as pie plates cleared, she reached for my hand. Eugene, I was wrong. Your family. Thank you for loving my boy through the storm. Tears welled. Howard's grip tightened. A circuit complete. Winter brought the proposal, not on bended knee in some scripted sweep, but raw, real. New Year's Eve on our brownstone stoop. Fireworks cracking over the harbor. He'd hidden the ring in my coat pocket. A simple band of reclaimed gold, etched with phoenix lines from my designs. Eugene Hayes, he said, snowflakes catching in his lashes. You pulled me from ashes. Marry me? Build forever. I laughed through tears, yes, bursting free. We kissed as the ball dropped on distant screens, the city cheering our private revolution. Spring 2025 saw the wedding, a rooftop affair in Chelsea, 50 souls under string lights, Jax officiating in sequins, Marcus toasting as best man, Dr. Ramirez beaming from the front row. Vows exchanged with the skyline witness. Howard's voice steady. I promise to kneel only in love, to rise with you always. Mine. Choked. You've taught me forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing you. Every dawn. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Beaches and bike rides. Hands linked on dunes. The Atlantic a vast absolution. Back home. Life wove onward. The The center's groundbreaking. My gallery show. Quiet nights with vinyl spinning and his head on my chest. Years later, on a stormy November eve, echoing that fateful Brooklyn rain, Howard knelt again, not in plea but play, proposing a silly toast to our 10th anniversary. Still begging for more of you, he grinned, eyes that green forever. I pulled him up, into the warmth. Always forgiven. Always yours, in America's grand, flawed tapestry, where dreams crack and mend, weed threaded our story, betrayal's blade dulled by time's forge, love's fire unquenched. Human, messy, profound. And in that, we found grace.